Hello and welcome to Ask PwC Singapore. I'm Claressa Monteiro. Corporate growth used to be a straight road. Now it's expand from within, scale through acquisition, or perhaps do both. But the question today is, what actually drives value? In this episode, we're joined by Richard Yu, Group Chairman, Yu Yang Zhang International Private Limited, Satoshi Yoshida, Acting Group CEO and Chief Strategy Officer, Yu Yang Zhang International Limited, and rounding out the conversation, Ling Tok Hong, Deals Leader, PwC Singapore. Today, we'll unpack how legacy brands evolve, when to pursue M&A, and how businesses can balance risk with ambition so you can grow with intention and momentum. Let's get started. Okay, Tok Hong, you've seen Yu Yang Zhang through family ownership, regional expansion, and now acquisition. From your vantage point, what key experiences or lessons should other companies consider when reassessing how to grow in today's climate?
Thank you. I have to say I'm very lucky to be able to work with the company, to work with Richard and his team over the past decade. I mean, Yu Yang Zhang is a 140-year-old brand, heritage brand. I grew up with it from my parents.
We all did.
Yeah, we all did. So I was excited to hear what Richard's plans are. I did a bit of research before I met Richard. And when I heard what he was going to do with the business, the journey, the transformation, the ideas, I was very excited. But I have to say, over the past many years, I've seen Richard and the team move through all the challenges, brought in additional capabilities. Very exciting, and happy to share more as we speak.
Okay, now that we should bring Richard into the conversation, what did you want to ensure was preserved under the new ownership? Was it values, brand, strategic intent?
I think the overall intention really was to make sure that the company and the brand particularly will survive for another 146 years.
So you're thinking succession?
Yeah, succession is it's sustainability, right? Longevity. How do you keep a brand going for so long, right? It's not easy because we're one of the very few companies that are of this age in Singapore, but we have to think beyond just the needs of the family itself and think more about the needs of the company and the brand that you want to preserve.
Right. So for other founders considering an M&A exit even, what's the one question they must ask themselves before making that decision?
I think founders or owners of businesses, the answer may be different depending on where you are in terms of the journey of the life cycle of that company. I think you might want to think about, if you're a founder, for example, and you're first generation in the business, your thinking might be different to somebody who is from a multi-generational, like 3-4 generation old business. The dynamics are also different because as a founder, you probably have more control. And the later generations, you may not have full control of the business. There are many other relatives and other stakeholders to consider. So I think overall, you think about how you want to preserve that business, that company, in such a way that it can last for as long as possible. But it might also mean changing the way in which the business is done, or even the business itself. So you've got companies which have pivoted over time and gone from one type of industry to another industry, but it's still the same company, albeit different industries. But on the other hand, like us, we have a brand, and the brand is, it relates to a specific type of industry, service, or whatever it is, and you want to try and retain that essence, for as long as it's relevant. So, I can't give you a standard answer for everybody, but I think you want to think about what is it that's going to make this company or this business sustainable. You think beyond yourself. It's not
Beyond
about yourself, not just about the family. It's about the company and the business.
From what I see, really, the Yuan Sang brand itself, it's trust, it's efficacy, right? But I've also seen the management team under Richard balance institutional governance, right? Because you want to grow, you want to bring in external capital with governance, with capabilities, so that you can grow faster, you can grow broader. I think that balance is delicate. And I've seen the business founders together with its partners done that very well. We spent many hours and many days debating, okay, should it be 60-40, 30-70, and it's a balance. But along the way, somehow, I agree, Richard, there's no fixed formula.
Sure.
It is very qualitative, and it depends on how the founders, at what stage, and where do we want to bring the business in the next 50 years, 100 years.
So now we turn our attention to Satoshi, because the question now becomes, this is the next evolution for the company. What operational or market shifts, be it rising costs, AI disruption, changing consumer behavior, do you think are forcing businesses to rethink some of these traditional growth models?
I think, during, the last 1.5 years, since, the ownership change of Yuan Sang, there are a lot of changes in the, market environment.
Massive changes.
Massive changes eventually. And in terms of the cost rising related to the, the product raw material, another challenge is, currently Yuan Sang main business model is, retail, right? Rent cost is quite, huge. In terms of the consumer behavior, yes, there's also some certain change. People is now looking for the more, I can say, easy to understand and very functional product. But at the moment, this would be the quite very good, exciting opportunity for the Yuan Sang. The chance is the AI and the digital. We can utilize the AI and the digital. Of course, current our business model, retail business, the in-person communication with the consumer is significantly important. However, mixing with digital and AI, I think we can provide the so-called seamless experience to the end user and the customer, dual experience of online and offline. That is quite an interesting point. And maybe the mixture of TCM and the AI, it sounds exciting, right?
I assume you can use AI to help with the diagnostics, but then it's still the human speaking to a patient.
Indeed.
This is where PwC comes back in.
Yes.
Tok Hong, when boards think about scaling up, or how do you help them decide whether to grow from within, pursue acquisitions, do both, all of these things? What are the strategic trade-offs or tipping points that typically guide that decision?
A lot of it depends on what the company's legacy is and what are the core competency. As an advisor, as a business advisor, we put together in a way, roadmap or a strategy. But as I saw, as I worked with the company, I saw how it got implemented. Satoshi mentioned about TCM, that's the customers, the traditional customers wants a face-to-face. So that the channel, that retail, the engagement with the key customers is very important. So preserving your loyal customer, that's paramount. It's very critical. But having said that, on the other hand, how do we grow? Right? So I was talking about omnichannel. So I saw Yuan Sang really adding on various channels. You have retail, strengthening the retail, and then you have clinics, the consultation, and the digital access is amazing, how it transformed the company. And it has brought the company through various crises. It broadens the base, it builds on the brand, and it creates the next generation of loyal customers.
Yep.
So I think there's no one size fit all for any of these boards or any businesses.
Okay, so with internal capabilities or value chain performance, which one, as they are scaling up, should they value? Should be a priority?
I think each company has to look at their own, right? What is their core? What do they do best? Where do they operate the best? And I think they need to deepen that, right? Which is what UNScience did, right? Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to Richard and Satoshi. Traditional Chinese medicine in a modern world has a whole raft of different considerations from a business point of view. So what's your secret of making it relevant, keeping it relevant and resonant across today's markets?
Yeah. I think you always have to keep relevant for the current consumer, whoever that might be. So when I started the business, we basically were facing a situation where our customers were literally dying out because they're aging, right?
Right.
So you got to find a market which is current and that has longevity, and then you partner with your customer. You're a health partner for the customer for as long as possible. You start people as young as possible, and you stay with them for as long as possible. So,
And you want their children.
and especially, so you want to pass on. So, but different people have different needs. They have different perception. The children might think, this is my mother's or my grandmother's product and may not be relevant for me. So how do you make that relevant?
Right.
So I think this is where technology and so on has to come in and capture their thinking. Because they got to get beyond what their mother or grandmother tells them. They've got to find out for themselves too. So I think we have to keep innovating and coming up with new ideas, new products to make it relevant for the new consumers, whilst at the same time we don't lose the old ones.
Right.
So this is the balance that we have to do.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I think especially for the Yuyan-san and the TCM case, continue innovation and modernization is very important. TCM, yes, this is very very promising field, I think, since obviously I came from Japan, and for example in Japan, the more than 30% is currently over 65 years old. Maybe Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, obviously same tendency is coming, right? So this is the social challenges, how we can sustain the system in the aging society, and the key is we need to provide the healthcare and wellness solution before the pre-illness. This is very important topics, and under the such challenge and the topics, definitely TCM is the key industry and key solution for the problem. One interesting initiative is Yuyan-san is currently doing the collaborative scheme with the Parkway Shenton and the IHH Hospital Group. Last year we opened one TCM clinic. At first we are developing the the model for treating the hypertension, but such a kind of the collaboration with Western medicine would be one of the key items to make the people understand about the effectiveness of TCM.
Let's take it full circle, Tok Hong. Where do companies most commonly stumble, though? Is it integrating acquisitions? Is it scaling internal transformation, like digitalization or CRM modernization? Where are the pain points? Where are the danger points for companies in this position?
From my experience, it's about the perspective of the company, the businesses. It's about human capital. It's about its people, its talent. So they have their management team built with upscaling of integration capabilities, perspective, and experience. So it's just not an event, it's not an endpoint, but they see this as one of the core competencies to be able to integrate new businesses, the ability to collaborate with your partners, not just in the region or in the country where you operate.
Capabilities and competences are primary. When you have the right people, the right ideas, I think finding the money is not the issue.
Finding the money is not an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, Satoshi. The smart money did follow the business. What does the next chapter of growth look like for the company? How will you measure that success?
That is very important and key key question. And I think okay, let me talk about the essence of Yu-Yan-san, some change in the ownership with keeping essence. And based on the essence, we have to keep transform the business, right? Yeah. In Yu-Yan-san case, the essence is definitely the TCM, and the corporate mission is caring for mankind. And based on that, currently every stakeholder, including shareholder, the pharmaceutical company, Lotto, who has the advantage in the skincare and eye care business field, and Mitsui, this is the Japanese conglomerate company, investment and trading conglomerate company. I touch about the AI and digital. This is a very great exciting field. We would like to enhance the digital activity, so-called OMO concept, online merge with offline concept. We would like to seamless consumer experience, and quantitative wise we would like to expand the number of consumer. However, we would like to enhance the loyalty of these customers. To do it,
so that's one of your measures of success.
Yes, indeed.
Growing the numbers and the loyalty.
Yes. And maybe the content of the membership. We would like to expand the younger or middle-aged people among the CRM system. And to do it, the basement is the service quality and product quality and good new concept product. The channel-wise, we would like to, expand the digital activity definitely. That is, our current very high-level strategy.
From which you're going to measure your success. And I wish you all the very best with that. It is a challenging market, but it is a brand we all know and love.
Yeah.
One final word, Tok Hong. If companies are inspired to revisit their growth strategy, whether it's buy, build, or both, what are the first few steps they should take to prepare for value-driven transformation?
Well, I guess it's to understand yourself, your business, who you are, who are your customers, and very importantly, your stakeholders, your other stakeholders. That's important. Take stock of that. What are your key assets today? A key asset doesn't have to be tangible, right? Real estate is tangible, but look at your brands, your technology, your processes, and I believe look at the management team. And where do we then think about the growth or where the businesses will be in the next 10 years?
All right. Well, here's to another 140 years.
Yeah.
I want to thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen, for sharing such valuable insights. And thank you for joining us on Ask PwC Singapore. We've seen that sustainable growth doesn't follow a single path. It's about timing, trade-offs, and above all, clarity of purpose. Whether you're building from within, buying to scale, or balancing both so you can lead with confidence in a tougher market. Until next time.